news, which is the successes that I saw on my recent trip to Afghanistan. And I'm very pleased that Ajmal Shirzai is on this presentation, and we're going to give him a chance to comment because he deserves, first of all, huge congratulations for the leadership that has happened. And so thank you very much, Ajmal, for the joining, but even more, thank you for the fantastic leadership that you've provided to Future Generations Afghanistan, and the management that you are doing for a team that now exceeds 1,000 people, and a budget that is larger than that of the university. I want to recognize that. I had no expectation when I went. I knew it was going to be impressive, but I had no expectation for the magnitude of the engagement and the magnitude of the appreciation by the communities of Afghanistan for what Future Generations Afghanistan is doing. And so I just would like to start by just saying what an extraordinary accomplishment has been growing in Afghanistan during some very difficult times. And just congratulations to our teams. I would like to share with you in this meeting what I saw, and then give some time to talk about where we are now probably going. First of all, Future Generations Afghanistan is an autonomous organization. It has a board of governors that is comprised of 3 individuals, one of whom is deceased. So the 3 individuals are myself, Peter Ide, and Su Jin Wei. And Su Jin Wei has been dead for a number of years. The board has not met in recent times. The board needs to do a lot of cleaning up and getting things back in place. And during these years, I have been working as providing the oversight. It's been a time of transition, but now when I have seen the successes in Afghanistan, it is really imperative that we activate the leadership in Afghanistan. And so very soon, I am presuming that Ajmal will be elected as Secretary of the Board of Future Generations Afghanistan. So I just want to say managerially, they are a partner to the Future Generations University. They are a member of the Future Generations Global Network. And so that is the institutional relationship that is at play. Now, on a personal relationship, let me just jump right in and share with you a PowerPoint. Wait, where is this PowerPoint? It's on my screen. It's asking me open system preferences. Luke, can you clarify here? Thought it was all set up ahead of time.
You need to hold on.
Is this part of the new Zoom that came in last week?
Yeah, you can use your password. Rejoin.
Sorry, everybody. This is PowerPoint. Okay, thank you, Luke. Okay, Afghanistan is, you really need to understand the geography of Afghanistan to understand the complexity of the country and some of the issues. Afghanistan is what geologically is known as the middle of the Pamir Knot. That's where 4 major mountain chains come together, and those mountains have created the pocket that is the country of Afghanistan. And into that pocket have come many different ethnic groups over time. But because of the mountain chain that surrounds Afghanistan, you'll see the huge mountain chain that runs through the middle of the Pamir Knot, but there's also mountains around it. There's very little water that comes into Afghanistan. And the lack of water dramatically affects everything about life in Afghanistan. So it's a pocket in the world that is a very special place. And of course, it has been visited many times by many different military invasions, and each one has left a certain ethnic group behind. And that has created part of the complexity of the country. For me, I first visited Afghanistan in 1961. Then in 1968, I crisscrossed Afghanistan 4 times, carrying hippies back and forth between Europe and Nepal. And they paid very generously to me. And I, at the end of the summer, made several $1,000s from hippies. And you can see me waving to you out of the driver's seat of my Volkswagen bus that I used to transport hippies. And, you know, this is a road that I drove. This goes into the Khyber Pass. I drove this last week with Ajmal. There goes my Volkswagen bus driving right through. There was dusty roads in those days. This is up in northern Afghanistan when we had to leave by an emergency route that goes up through the city of Mazar-e-Sharif, which is a fabulous mosque and city in northern Afghanistan. So I have a long emotional involvement with Afghanistan that goes back to 1961, and I love the country and the people deeply. But this is Future Generations Afghanistan today. The leadership team has taken on my recent visit. Of course, you can see me, and you can see the generous bodyguard that we were provided by the Taliban. Sadly now, due to a variety of reasons, we don't have a large women contingent on our staff. We do have some, I'll be talking about it in just a little bit, but most of the senior leadership, in order to be able to move around Afghanistan, because our program is very large, are men. And Stephanie, as you can see, the vests that you provided were much appreciated. Even in the middle of the hot summer, everybody wore their vests. So what are we doing in Afghanistan? Basically today, we do have some other activities. We're providing assistance. We're providing humanitarian assistance through 2 modalities: a food-based intervention in the context of a famine, and a cash-based intervention in the context of the extreme poverty of Afghanistan. We get grants from the UN agencies in order to support this work. And the team in Afghanistan has been extraordinarily successful in getting these grants. They are usually given by district and region in the country. They're usually given very specific deliverables, and the team has developed a real skill in developing these proposals. And so what I will be talking about here is describing our 2 work. One is in food-based and the other is in cash-based. This is the overall description. This is not complete, but this is an overall description of the work across, I see, this is only Nuristan and Kunar, anyway, where we're reaching 34,000 households. This is, for instance, the work in the eastern region of Afghanistan. You will see down at the bottom of the sheet, there are 839 employees just in the eastern region. And listed are all the employees by different types of occupational involvement. So this is a substantial program if it's just in one region we have 839 employees. This is a description for one part of that region, which is the Laghman province. And you can see that this program is extremely well organized. They've identified who the beneficiaries are. The training programs, the project awareness, the coordination, the inputs that are being done, the training, what consists of all the training, whether it's on COVID or on agriculture or on animals or on famine relief. So I just want to talk about the extraordinary organization. That's what I'm trying to emphasize here. The program is very well organized. How else could you work in the context of Afghanistan today with the huge number of people? Huge number of people. This is the waiting line for one of our food programs. And this is just the men's waiting line. Okay, so these people have come early in the morning to stand in line to get food assistance during the very real famine. And I want to talk a little bit about that. This is part of the women's waiting line, where they are in line with their kids. And it's really touching. It's, you know, they could be any of our kids, and they're all waiting. They know the rules. They play by the rules. And so here is for the cash line. You start in line, and it's all very well organized, and Future Generations is managing it. You can see the people down there. They all wear their Future Generations hats, and then people start to proceed through the line, in this case, to get the cash assistance. Now, what do they do with the cash? We don't just hand the money out, although we do in a few instances, but basically this is a cash for work activity. So people are getting paid for work that they do. And here is a work crew. In this case, they are cleaning out a canal to bring water to the fields. Remember, this is a desert area, and water is the precious commodity. Here's another canal that is, you can see it's bringing water out of the river, and they're putting in a concrete embankment, and all the people who are lined up and working. We're talking about, obviously, hundreds of people on these projects. So this is a significant work in terms of rebuilding the infrastructure. In the context of war, it's also a significant economic engine in the context. And notice in the background here that where there's a river, there is greenery. Otherwise, you're basically talking about desert. And the reason that there's greenery is because they've developed these canals to move the land. So the next area we're working in is food security. And here is an outline of the work in food security across 10 different provinces of Afghanistan. 10 different provinces covers a lot of Afghanistan. And then under each, I just want to point to the second column, which is the population analyzed. So they're not just giving people help randomly. They go through that district and they figure out who are the deserving people for help. Okay, and in case of Herat, they've analyzed the needs of 2 million people. And then from that, identified what phase of food insecurity stress this phase 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a very systematic analysis that's happening in these 10 provinces. The population of Afghanistan is 33 million, I believe, right, as of the present. So how does this work? Let me just show you one of the lines. So this will last several minutes, but it'll give you a sense of the great order and work here. So it's extremely well organized. how else are you going to be giving famine relief in the context of the national scale crisis that's going on in Afghanistan? And this summarizes the system that has been organized by FGA. Where you come in, you go to the help desk, and then there's the stations that you have to move through. And you saw in that earlier video that they have painted onto the ground where you have to walk. You can't cut the line, and you got to stand in line for hours to go through all these stations if you're going to get the assistance from this program. So here you come to the help desk, and you get your chit, and you start to go through the organized system, and then you get on the little walkway, and you start going through the stations. And it was, you can see in the lower right side, this is the documents verification station to make sure you're providing legitimate documentation for your case. There's the help desk earlier, and there's a logbook, which is the next station beyond. And then you get logged into the system, and you get your chit. They get stamped so that we can tell whether you were here this week, the week before, or what's happening. So this very clear organization takes you through the system. And if you don't have a clear organization, obviously you're going to get chaos is immediately going to take place, because people could not only get upset and shout, but they could pull out a weapon or something like that. Obviously, in the food distribution line, we don't allow people to show up with a machine gun. And you have to sign, and you sign week by week. So this week's signature's got to match last week's signature. Here's the food that's waiting. There's a lot. And it's very carefully, it's provided by the World Food Program. It's designed for nutritional benefit. It's carefully figured out what type of food to get. We've got large warehouses, and the Taliban is providing free of cost these warehouses to us. It's a partnership, and I want to talk more about that. And a real congratulations goes to the FGA team for creating this partnership with the Taliban government in the middle of this national crisis. An example of the food. Special formula for children older than 5 years of age and adults. And then nutritional supplements on the right-hand side. Then you take your food home. I mentioned the partnership with the Taliban. It is a partnership. They are providing security for us from theft and thuggery. Okay, and we're working with them, and I'll say more. But there are certain compromises that have to be made. The flag on the vehicle there, this is the escort. You can see the vehicle in the background is the Future Generations Afghanistan vehicle. Stephanie remembers cutting the check to Eshan Zia for that check, to buy that car. That car has a GPS in it, so it's being tracked full time wherever it goes. If we need to, we can turn the engine off remotely at any point in time. When I was there, very kindly to give the security, the Taliban gave an escort vehicle in the front, which you see, and then there's a green vehicle in the back, which was also the security in the back. Now, what is really interesting about this picture is this road, because I kept saying, well, this is wonderful. We have this partnership. I appreciate it. We know in the United States, we partner with the US government. In China, we partner with the Chinese government. Obviously, in Afghanistan, we're going to have to partner with the Afghan government. Future Generations and Seed Scale's all about a three-way partnership. But I says, what's the Taliban getting out of it? So I said to me, well, let me show you an example. So we had a project, which was infrastructure development, and the roughest neighborhood in the Jalalabad area where there was the most violence, the Taliban said, we want you to build a nice big highway with all your food for work, all your cash for work project infrastructure development. And so this was a road that was built by the Cash for Work project that you just saw people were laboring on. Well, we built that highway. And now it's what was an isolated neighborhood. It's got a big road going through it. And the peace and security in this neighborhood has gone down. It also happened to be where a few Taliban commanders lived, so they got a road to their house. So that's the second part of the story, which was, what are they getting out of it? So we have this partnership, and it's really working, okay? And what I wanted to emphasize here is this, okay? So here we have Ajmal talking with the local commander, okay? And the team, that's who's standing behind. And what has been growing in a really very beautiful way is the fact that the Future Generations Afghanistan has been teaching seed scale. This is not my graphic. This is Ajmal Shirzai's graphic. And how he has taken the process and embedded it and included it in his program, and they teach it. And so he has created then this graphic, which is actually an automated graphic, and each of these sections grows. But notice what's on the left-hand side. That's the humanitarian interventions, food security, seasonal support programs, school-based nutrition, farmers assistance, social protection. These are all humanitarian activities that are being on. And then what we're now trying to do is to move to the right-hand side at the same time and to get these two functioning together, which is development interventions. And this is the official vision statement, so to speak, of FGA, and how they're using seed scale as an engine in the middle to do the humanitarian interventions and to do the development interventions on the right. And it's directly built off of what, off the seed scale. Look at the interesting idea here. In this, at the beginning of this engine is the 4 principles on the inside. Okay, and then they use this 7 tasks around the outside. And then on this section, the 4 principles are on the outside, changes in community behavior and building on success. So as the engine goes around, the idea is to have the results being manifested then on the frame on the outside. Okay, they've got a model. They've got a pedagogical model here. And they've got the team. And they've got funding through these humanitarian grants. And so that's what, to my mind, was the really impressive thing. We're not just doing very important humanitarian relief. We've got a system going. And we're working in partnership. Okay, we're working in partnership with the system that's there. This is the Future Generations vehicle in the background. Okay, that's in the background is the food that's being distributed. The guy taking that on that little white line, right? He's following the rules. He's taking his food out in his wheelbarrow. Like, he's got to bring the wheelbarrow back. We don't give away wheelbarrows, okay? That's just to move things around on the process. And you can see in the background of the picture, the little white line that people go in with. So they go in with back. So that in that image, a great deal of information is being told. Now, another cool thing that's going on is that they've started to do research now. And one of the research projects is what they call CREAM. I won't go into the details of what it stands for, but it's a research project where they're seeking to understand through a systematic evaluation project in one area, which is called Nuristan, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Afghanistan. They're doing research on market, on seed security, and on the context of how to work in the Afghan context. Okay, seed security is the focus because they're trying to bring back food security. And the way to do that is through managing the seeds, because in Afghanistan, due to the isolation, there's some very precious traditional seeds that are adapted to the ecology. But this is not just going around casually talking. Look, they're doing surveys. They're getting numbers. They're crunching the numbers. Okay, this is very serious evidence gathering under the model that I just showed you of using seed scale with group teamwork. So this is my last image here from this PowerPoint. So of the partnership between Future Generations University and Future Generations Afghanistan. Now, let's see how we get out of here. Yeah, I want to switch screens here. So,
Never switched to. Do you guys have else you want to share?
yeah, I want to share the FGA causal analysis. So what are we going to do? The first thing that we're going, so I did a causal functional analysis with the team, and this is the larger document. First thing we're going to be doing is obviously reconstituting the board of Future Generations Afghanistan. And then in this context, we're going to position the identity in the national culture, not in the culture of donor money, which is where it is right now. So there's an evolutionary process to move from donor money, which we're going to continue to take because you have to use it. I mean, it's there, it's available. But we're going to be moving towards development assistance. And as you know, in seed scale, development assistance is grounded on human energy. So that's the first evolutionary step that's being in the process. And then we're going to evolve the present management structure for organic scaling. And the idea here is to bring decision-making closer to the communities, as in large corporations, because Future Generations Afghanistan is becoming a large corporation with the numbers of people. And so that is different from the hierarchical model that typically NGOs use. So there's a management structure evolution that's going to be happening. There's a major support now that's going to start for 2 employees with staff evaluation, clearer compensation, multi-year contracts, which until now has been all project by project. There's a staff development with seed scale training. And so Future Generations Afghanistan will be sending 10 people to the enrolled in the seed course that starts here in 1 month. They'll be sending several people to the Gandhi residential. We're going to grow the information feedback systems to grow quality assurance. So there's a whole new structure here of information feedback to grow quality. And you saw examples of the beginning of that with some of the research work they're doing. And we're going to create clarification, more understanding for transparency in hiring, evaluation, and then of course the clarification to the university and the global network, which is important. So the Taliban rule has brought political stability. So the daily dangers to people are lower. You may like the Taliban, you may not like the Taliban. That's obviously an individual's thing, but it's a lot safer in Afghanistan than it was when the international presence was in there 3 years ago on my last visits. International development assistance, which was major, billions of dollars from the different donors, created a culture of corruption under the prior government. And that has created a lot of ancillary problems. So I would argue that the international development assistance, like the military assistance, was perhaps in some negative. And we can talk about that. And what is come now is this whole issue of the ascendancy of Islamic values. I was very interested that in the last 2 days of my visit in Afghanistan, the Taliban had called a Loya Jirga, which is a national gathering. It's a traditional cultural event where you bring together all the tribes. Well, it wasn't this time identified by tribes. It was identified by Islamic faction representations. But the point is they tried to talk and tried to figure out what is the Islamic values that are being extended. They couldn't reach any agreement. The lawyer Jirga ended without any agreement. They tried to talk and figure out what is the meaning of Islam. The important point to me here is that the Taliban doesn't know. Okay, the Taliban is not a monolithic force. The Taliban has got big differences among itself as to what Islam means and what has to be done. It isn't what most in America think, a jihadist military invention that is in the process of terrorizing the country. It is people trying to figure out for themselves, what are your values? Well, my colleagues, we can ask that question in every country of the world about what our values are. In this way, we share something very similar to what's going on there. And the next thing I just wanted to sort of talk about is that we have a new functional structure that's taking place. The board of directors is being reconstituted. This is an autonomous board. Okay. And so Peter Ide is serving as the treasurer. Peter has a background in finance. He lives in Tunisia. Okay, I will continue as chair, at least for the time being. And Ajmal Shirzai is coming on as secretary. And he will then have, as do I here, he will have a board role, and he will also have a officer role as country director. He'll hold two titles, secretary and country director. And then to go up what I was saying earlier about the corporate model that's following, we will have at this point 3 managing directors. And one is the managing director of implementation. And this is a person who's going to be using the inside of that engine in that graphic I showed you, of the 4 principles and the 7 tasks. They're managing 1,000 people, okay, in all these 10 provinces that FGA is working in. So that's the managing director who's doing that. Then there's the managing director for quality assurance. And this is the person who's going to be working from the 5 criteria and going to be gathering, monitoring, and evaluation system. Okay, so that Future Generations Afghanistan is moving to a learning organization. The way we can extend and improve in development is through seed scale, which is fundamentally a learning process. It's not a service delivery process, because the objective here is to get an ever more skilled Afghanistan, okay, at the community level with community facilities. Then there's the managing director for operations. This runs the finance office, government relations, reports to the Taliban government, procurement, staff performance, so on and so forth. On the running of the government. It was very interesting to me, and no surprise, I'd known this before I went out, but I just want to highlight it, that when you get into the government now, most of the government officers, who are the people who are sitting behind the desk, are the same people who were sitting behind the desk before the Taliban came in. They're the ones who know how to run the computers. They're the ones who know where the files are. And so suddenly they've got a Taliban boss, and the earlier boss of the republic is gone. So the system that basically had been set up over the last 20 years is in some ways still there. It's just got a new head on it. So what I want to sort of say here as we end is Afghanistan is evolving. It's changing, okay? It isn't the country or the people that the international community was fighting against, okay? They're trying to take ownership of their future. And what is so exciting to me is that Future Generations University has an opportunity to work with our partner, Future Generations Afghanistan, to help shape that future. And today is a moment of flux where the country is moving and looking for answers. And we, as the Future Generations partners in that process, have an opportunity to help them grow to the future that they want, which is what Seed Scale does, okay? And so where that's going to go, I don't know. Okay, nobody knows. But they've got a team under very capable leadership of very dedicated people who are engaged in a life and death issue. And I say life and death because it's a famine. There's massive unemployment. And they're trying to work for their own future. And we've got the opportunity, and we've got the presence, and we have some serious money thanks to the good fundraising of Future Generations Afghanistan and the team in order to help make that future unfold. And it's in our collective interest for the whole world to continue the partnership. And if there's anything that bothers me enormously in this whole process, is that when the Taliban came in, the international people walked out. Okay? This is when we step up and we try to figure out partnerships. We're not fighting a war. At least Future Generations is based on partnerships. So with that, I do wanted to give a chance for Ajmal Shirzai, who's been on this, to disagree with me, to make some comments. But first, Ajmal, as a dear colleague, I want to say thank you. And since you're an alumnus of Future Generations University, we are very proud of what you have achieved with your knowledge in our master's degree. And I believe that Bismillah is also on this call, who is also an alumnus of our master's degree. So I just want to say how you two gentlemen have used your partnership with Future Generations is a matter of honor for this university. Thank you very much. And I turn it over to Ajmal and Bismillah if they choose to comment, and then comments from anybody else.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for your visit. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your braveness, because I think nowadays it's very much difficult for the foreigners to come to Afghanistan because everyone is scaring while they're traveling from one province to another province. But your visit means that you love Afghanistan and you love Future Generations, and thank you very much for that. I think the progress of Future Generation was not only because of Ajmal Shirzai. Yes, I do my leaderships, but if you, for the last 10 or 12 years that I'm working for Future Generations, we lost 9 or 10 people during official work with Future Generation Afghanistan. Some of them was killed by Taliban, some of them was killed by unknown people, and some of them was shooted by American drone in the rural areas. So at least 10 or 12 people of Future Generation staff was killed in one way or another way by different group of fractions. Same time, we also have the report of a lot of staff that were jailed. For example, we were sitting in the government control area. Our project site was in the Taliban control area, in the opposition group or ICE Taliban areas. When our social organizer did their job in the rural districts, came back to the cities, in the cities they were captured by the NDS people and says, "Oh, how can you implement the project in that area?" So we pass a lot of challenges in Afghanistan, and I think all the progress in this office, the hard work of my team, and I'm very thankful for my team, particularly those people who are working with community. They are the militaries, they are the troop of Future Generations, because I was sitting next to EC's generator with a good car, with all facilities, but that was my staff who were in the front line and work directly with communities. And I'm very much thankful for those people. And I think that today's progress is because of the hard work of that people. And I'm sure all Future Generations appreciate the work of our field staff. Two other things, Daniel Taylor and distinguished participants, all our project is linked to sustainable development goal. The type of the report that we are submitting to the government, no project is implemented at the output level, because all this project is contributing to the achievement of sustainable development goal. That is one issue. The other issue is, why donor loves future generations? This is not because we are distributing cash or we are distributing food, but beside this distribution of input, you are creating a system that could be applicable at the humanitarian situation. For example, managing of distribution camps. If you can see any kind of humanitarian manual, whether that is UNHCR manual, or that is EU ECO manual, or that is spare document, I'm sure you know about all these documents. You cannot see any kind of articles or chapters how to manage a distribution center. This is the Future Generation. For the first time, they created these systems, and even this system is a kind of a learning center that a lot of NGOs coming, inviting by the donor agency to visit our camp and to learn and to apply it in other areas. So that is another issue. And most of our project is implemented based on research. Research is a main component of our program, and all our decision making about selection of beneficiary will be based on the data. Another issue is that we are proceeding from scatter approach towards strategic approach. And that strategic line was very much interested by WFP. This yesterday, the WFP head of partnership called me and told me that's a very good approach, because if you can bring all scatter project in one region, in that case, they told me that we are creating a kind of economy of scale. It means that we are reducing the administrative cost or the operational cost, because in that case, we will have one office, and one office will be managing several projects. In the case of scatter approach, in each project, we need to establish one office. The good thing here is, for example, if you can see the seed scale in the graph that was shown by Professor Taylor, was how can we move our beneficiary from the humanitarian or emergency situation and bring them back to the development situation? That could be a kind of a challenging task, and that is not mentioned in the seed scale approach. But I'm proposing, Daniel Taylor, that for the next volume or the next volume of the empowerment book, I will be working with Dr. Daniel for the next editions to explain the issues. For example, the link of humanitarian and development, because without humanitarian, right now, do you know that the different type of disaster, climate change? I think only development will not empower them unless we cannot have a strong humanitarian programs. Because right now, if you can see the situation of Afghanistan, Southeast is affected by earthquake, and I think eastern provinces right now, all road was blocked to our project area because of flood, and some other eastern part is affected by drought. So in that case, in that type of humanitarian situation, how can we implement the development programs? Why there is no proper government? So, and I proposed that, Daniel, as soon as my PhD was finished, we will be working on the new chapter or the new edition of empowerment book, and we will explain these issues. And the last things, my proposal to Daniel is regarding the new structure. Daniel, we have a lot of lessons learned in Afghanistan. And you have mentioned about the board for Afghanistan. I propose this board should not be only for Afghanistan, because we have a lot of lessons learned. Why we should not share this lesson learned to other offices or other global network offices? For example, in Afghanistan, we will start from Afghanistan, because in Afghanistan, we have very strong alumni. For example, Dr. Nazir is leading his own NGOs. We have another people that I think we will also bring them under Future Generation umbrella. And at the same time, if possible, why we should not, for example, share this knowledge to other Future Generation global network or country offices? Because this WFP approach is similar approach all over the world. For example, this humanitarian approach clusters, this is applicable or the same type of approach in all other countries. We hope that the Future Generation Afghanistan board should be a kind of a board that could also lead other organizations belong to Future Generation. I'm happy to support to do that activity voluntarily, because Future Generation did a lot for me. They have provided me education opportunities in Future Generation University, free of cost. And right now they are providing me another opportunity to get my PhD free of cost. So I am very much, how can I say, I am much due to Future Generation. I hope that I could do something for future generations, not only for Afghanistan, but also for the global network. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ajmal. And, as he referenced, we are highly respected. We are now, I believe, the #1 respected organization by the World Food Program, and we're generally considered among one of the top 5 programs working in Afghanistan. Bismillah, I believe you are on this in this meeting. I would invite you to make some comments from your side, please. Bismillah has been working for Future Generations since 2005.
Thank you very much, and hi everyone. This is Bismillah. Although I've missed almost 90% of the presentation by Professor Daniel, but I would like to thank him for coming to Afghanistan and looking at our programs, and also working on the new structure for Future Generations Afghanistan. The only comment I would have here is that as per your trip review and what you saw here in Afghanistan, there's not much problems. So I think it's better for colleagues from the United States to come to Afghanistan and have a visit and do a supervisory role. So they are all welcome. And I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bismillah. Are there any questions or comments from the table here? I'm going to first give it to Luke, who has spent 2 years in Afghanistan, and then anybody else who wants to comment.
So just first of all, huge congratulations to my longtime colleagues. Hello, Shirzai and Bismillah. It's great to see you both. And just a huge congratulations. I guess the only comment I would just make for the purposes of this, because it's been very well covered, is that it's really refreshing to hear, especially what Shirzai was just saying about bringing in a very system approach or a strategic approach, because as many people, well, not everyone will know, the first director of the Afghanistan program was Carl Taylor, my grandfather, and I first went to Afghanistan at that time with him for his last trip. And he and I talked a huge amount at that time about a lot of these problems of the dependency that was being created by the international aid system, and that we weren't really building long-term capacity of the Afghans to be able to run their own functional society and community. And that's really, at the end of the day, what we mean when we say community development and not just helping people. And I think it's really amazing to see the way this current team is taking pretty much time of crisis, one after another, warfare, earthquakes, flooding, and using that to really highlight the problems in the historic aid system. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And from the standpoint of the community engagement division, looking forward in working on that, because the whole world, as you just said, Shirzai, Afghanistan's not the only place with problems. And we need to figure out a way to take these real times of crisis and not just put on a temporary Band-Aid, but also get to the deeper question of how we can fix the system so that it can be more resilient in the future. And I think, that is what the SDLCs and the community engagement division really has as its mandate at a much larger scale. And I look forward to partnering with you on that as we move forward. And I think that that's just some extra context. Nawang La, we see you're on, and Daniel wanted me to ask you to also comment because you have been involved with this type of work for a very long time, and we have some similar at the meta level of how we use crisis as opportunity is something you've seen very well throughout the Himalaya.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to congratulations Azmal and Bismillah and whole Afghanistan team members. It's wonderful hearing that good news from Dr. Daniel, and what you are doing in this situation is excellent, appreciable, and whole community and so all these systems. So we are proud of being as a future generation, a kind of colleagues and future generation, the members. So that will be really nice to hear about it. And definitely we have many crises in individual countries. Of course, we know very well about Afghanistan, and we in Nepal also, we had the same thing, kind of lot of, the earthquakes and all this flooding every year, and landslide, everything. So disasters going everywhere. But thing is the wonderful, we have the good leaders in this right place. We are not always depend with the government or kind of the NGOs, but need a good leadership that we can support each other and work with government, help to the government, not as a competitor, but the supporting government and public. That will be, I think, most of the interesting and a good way to work with government. So I really congratulate in coming years and keep on more. And we have really, Azmal has a very good idea about the seed scales approach. And I really appreciate all your ideas. That diagram you made for that's a really extraordinary things that we have giving very good ideas on that. We have to build some kind of more additional tools for the seed scales that globally we can implement it and apply that. That is the key thing which future generation is the methods all about it. So thank you very much all this, Daniela, Luke, for giving me time for this. I don't want to take long time, and Sirsai, congratulations, Bismillah also, and whole Afghanistan team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, but we do have another 5 minutes if anybody would like to jump in with a question or comment. Shirzai, you please, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Luke, thank you very much for your comment. Actually, you were the people, you created foundation for Future Generation Afghanistan. I was the person who just constructed the wall. So I think without strong foundation, definitely the building will not be sustainable. And I'm very much thanks to your work, to your grandfathers and Daniel Taylor. Second issues, Nawang, thank you to you, because you were the person, you helped me a lot while I was writing a proposal, self-help group, women economic empowerment for World Bank. And definitely there was no any kind of approach. One of the challenges for the World Bank program is we need to create an operational strategies. And the operational strategy that we copied from the India actually made our proposal on the top. For example, our proposal got over 80 or 90 number, which is very much difficult from World Bank to get that type of number, and that was your help. And the diagrams, I think that still the diagram is very much static. We need to operationalize that diagrams. For example, we show only the 4th skill, in terms of operationalization, we create, I think we show the 7 tasks and the main goal of the 7 tasks. But in order to make this diagram more operationalized, in that case, we need specific type of activity, which is implemented in Afghanistan for each 7 tasks, or for each principles, for each 4 principles. For example, in terms of data collections. So with different type of tool we are implementing in Afghanistan, we are doing beneficiary profile surveys, we are doing baseline surveys, we are doing vulnerability assessments. So for each of these 7 tasks, actually we have already applied some of different tools, and I'm thinking that to collect these different tools, and definitely when I was talking about the new edition of empowerment book, we will explain all these tools, the tools that was implemented during the emergency situations, and the tool that was implemented in development situation, in order to show which type of, how can we operationalize these 7 tasks. Thank you very much for your support, and we are here to if you need any kind of assistance in terms of proposal development, in terms of sharing our administrative or governance policies, sharing our monitoring. We have created a very good policies, monitoring and evaluation policy, program development policy, environmental policy. We are happy to share that with all future generation offices around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments that anybody would like to make? We're at time, but if there's one more comment, we can squeeze it in.
Daniel, I would like to thank Stephanie and Shalon, because they're in regular contact with us, and the support that was provided by Stephanie in terms of financial management, that's really appreciable. And thanks to the IT teams, I think the support that they provided for the email things. Right now, our email is functioning very well, thanks to them. And we hope that all information sharing that is done by Shalom, that's also very much appreciable. Thank you for your team. Over.
Your appreciation is much appreciated on this side, but we are now at the hour point. The meeting is over, and for those of you who are not on North Mountain, there is lunch that you cannot have. For those of you who are on North Mountain, there is lunch that you are welcome to come and eat. So I'm sorry that. So those who are here, we're going to have some lunch. And sorry, folks, you will be missing it. But I had good Afghan food last week. And so bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.